The cup that contained the tea? Contaminated. The 7 bar staff at the hotel who took the cup away, washed it, wiped it, set it out for other guests. Contaminated. The Pine Bar itself, contaminated and still closed, 2.5 months on. Safe and sound in Moscow, Lugovoy and Kovtun protested their innocence.
We sat at the table and talked for 20 or 30 minutes. I'm completely certain, I'm 100% sure, that he didn't order anything and we didn't offer anything to him.
But who might have ordered the assassination? Can the trail of polonium help us with that? So what about the Kremlin? They've got history. This is the Black Lubyanka, the headquarters of the old KGB. Thousands of ordinary people were executed in the basement. The story of Soviet poisoning goes back to the early 20s. This building here is laboratory number 12, the poison factory. The question is it still in business?
Welcome to Emirates Stadium, home of Arsenal, one of the latest British institutions to attract the attention of a Russian oligarch. There is a battle going on for control of the club. In 2007, Arsenal was rocked when an elusive Russian billionaire bought a huge stake in the club. His name was Alisher Usmanov. We've come to Moscow to see if we can find further information about Usmanov's past. We met an investigator who spent 6 months trying to discover details about him. Dispatches has learned that she was hired by a company advising the Arsenal board. She'd been to the Uzbek capital Tashkent and tracked down one of Usmanov's jewelers.
When the first Spitfire prototype flew on March the 5th, 1936, the short flight would prove a milestone in British aviation history. When the test pilot touched down, he was elated. He immediately told Mitchell and the design team at Supermarine, "Don't change a thing." This plane was faster and more manoeuvrable than anything else in the air at the time. It was also lethally beautiful. It's remembered as the saviour of Britain, and some of the people who had most respect for it were its enemies. As a point of honour, captured Luftwaffe pilots would always claim they'd been shot down by a Spitfire.
The Wizard of Electricity, the Napoleon of the light bulb. Whatever you want to call him, one thing is certain. Thomas Edison has had more influence on our world than any other scientist in history. His most famous achievement was the light bulb. It took us out of the dark ages and introduced us to a bright new world of progress.
We meet Caro to try to discover his desires and motivations, and to try to find out what this surprisingly youthful 80-year-old wants to do next. I feel like Gulliver standing here over Tate Caro.
It's a giant 1/20th model of Tate Britain, and this is how we set out the show and begin to decide where things should go.
It's a great way to get a sneak preview. So here we are in the 50s, and then we're moving fairly quickly through into the abstract sculpture, and here we are.
Yes,
we're in the 60s, the new sculpture already.
That was 1963, before I went to the States.
The shock of the new sculpture.
Something like that. And this is early one morning.
And that's the month of May?
That's month of May.
This is the Mamiroa Reserve. deep in the Brazilian Amazon. Over 22,000 square miles of luxurious rainforest and the widest waterways imaginable. Today I'm setting out with my guide Elmir to explore the wildlife and perhaps catch a glimpse of Mamiroa's greatest gem, the white Wakari monkey. The reserve boasts 400 species of birds, including these egrets posing on the highest treetops. A little further downriver, we disturb a sloth, watched over by a vulture. And then there are the mysterious boto, a river dolphin. And at night, caiman, eyeing up their prey.
The Mini is a classic. It's the most recognisable symbol of British motoring, inspiring more affection than the Rolls-Royce and more cult status than the Jag.
5 million of these little babies came off the production line and colonised the world. And even 50 years after the first model appeared, still the boldest, brightest, sexiest, nippiest thing on the road.
It's like no other car ever created. The Mini is not simply a design, it's a mobile work of art.
Beaming Big Brother directly into the minds of the audience. This promises to be a spectacular innovation in multimedia opera. You're often heralded as being one of the pioneers of multimedia in live performance. Do you think there's much future in it now? Do you think people are a bit weary of seeing video projections on stage, etc.?
Well, I mean, you only remember the bad experiences that you've seen. You never remember the good experiences. And I think that if opera wants to continue to be a great mother art, wants to continue to be the meeting point of all the different disciplines, it has to welcome into its realm all the different technologies that have been developed and all the other means of expression and narrative forms that have been invented since the 19th century.
Rehearsals have been taking place in an atmosphere of seclusion and secrecy.
Thank you for saving.
For the past decade, Crum has retreated to a tiny village in the south of France. His favourite toys, old records and memorabilia providing the ideal environment in which to work.
I always liked being invisible in a place, and then I can actually sit in a corner and draw people and watch and see things that are going on. But when you're the center of attention, you can't do that. You know, it's very uncomfortable. It's like being exposed and the light suddenly turned on you. Yeah.